Good morning. Good morning. What's happening, family? Welcome to the show. It is Michelle Bryant here at WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real. And I really want to start the show the way Petey Green started. I really want to be able to yell the way Petey Green, wake up! And then there was a swear word behind it. I really wish I could start the show like that. Because that was funny as fire to me. Oh my God. I watched it again because it was just so.
I mean, but just imagine if Petey Green was around now in the internet podcast era.
Oh my God, a beast. He'd be a beast. He would have been a beast. And I'm telling you, I had to watch it again because, and then I had to go back and actually do the real deep dive on this brother. Just skills, just crazy skills. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. What's up to my folks on Facebook, YouTube? I see Eval Kenya. Like, she'll be playing. You see me. Somebody tell us where you at. Look at it. Great morning, great Wednesday. Yes, it's good to see everybody on this morning. Let me say good morning to the brothers in the building. What's up, Rod Out? How you doing this morning, sir?
Well, Shell.
Yes, sir.
Today is Wednesday. It's a beautiful day outside. The sun is shining. It's warm. I'm tired as a fool. My legs are strong. Legs are real strong on this morning.
Yeah, walk that long.
Amen. Amen. If you're going to walk the walk, you got to talk the talk. So I did journey in this morning. But you know, Shell.
What's that, bro?
Since you started with me, today is Wednesday.
Dang!
We all know what Wednesday is.
Dang.
Someone asked the question.
Sing it, Clark.
Sing it out loud, Clark. Sing it. And that someone is me.
Okay.
You know, Shell.
Yes, sir.
I think I might have you on this one.
I'm listening.
Now, if piano players are called pianists, and if a person that paints is called an artist, what is race car drivers?
You thought that real deep.
If a piano player is a pianist, and the person that paint is an artist, what do you call a race car driver?
They're just called racers. They're not called racists.
I know you were going with that.
They're just called racers. But yes, Jermaine. Piano, pianist, artist, racer. I'm sorry, racist. And Bubba, what's his name? Wallace might say Jermaine might be on to something.
I'm trying to tell you.
It's a few of them for sure.
I'm trying to tell you.
But they're called racers.
Oh, they're called racers.
Yes.
Well,
I know where you're going with that.
well, she got me on that one. Let me ask you this one since I missed a couple weeks of asking my questions.
You have a second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's part B.
Okay. Okay.
So if a person is taking a test and dies while they're taking the test, do that mean that they passed? Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
This one.
So technically, no, it does not mean that they passed because they may not have finished the test, which means that the test would go ungraded. So, there is no score because the test
Hey, that walk did you some good.
Hey, I had a lot of time to think. Came up with a second question.
Clark, I've asked you not to encourage. I've asked you not to encourage.
Hey, I had a lot of time to think, Clark.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a whole bunch of laughing faces crying and said, no, these are for Jermaine. Okay, I guess that last one just really got people. Laughter is good for the soul. Somebody said, Cole, you stupid. Martin Lawrence.
No, you stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, you got issues, bro. You got issues.
Hey, Shell, I had a lot of time to think this morning as I was making my way downtown to work.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
I'm just gonna say yeah. I won't say why, but I'll just say yeah. Yeah, you did. And a little special. Just man.
Yeah, a lot of time.
Hey Clark, how are you this morning?
Don't be like this guy.
Who are you?
Got it.
What is wrong with you?
Got him.
Hey, Clark.
It's that second question.
Got him.
Yeah, and quite a few. Somebody said, right on, Jermaine. That's that 50 kicking in. Not right on, Jermaine. So, right on, Jermaine. Y'all be encouraging nonsense. So, what you say, Clark? You
who you with?
It's still we gonna let you slide today. We gonna let you slide today. You doing all right otherwise though?
I'm feeling a little down, but no.
You sound yeah.
Hey, well, hopefully, man, my
your jokes didn't help.
Oh, it did.
So, well, hopefully, brother.
I brought laughter to your soul.
My question is to help to uplift your spirits.
I just feeling, since yesterday, I've been having these chills, and I stayed home, and
Oh, you mean like you feel sick?
Not sick. I just been having chills.
Chills mean sick, boy. Spray that Lysol. And Jermaine, you gonna get it in my coffee? Stop, Jermaine. Jermaine.
Oh, okay.
Tell somebody you gonna start spraying Lysol before
I had a whole can in my hand.
Open.
Shell, listen.
Now I'm breathing in Lysol.
You would rather breathe in Lysol?
I would not.
Breathe in.
I would not.
Silly Willy over here.
I cannot believe you just started spraying the Lysol.
I can't afford to get
my God.
I got a show.
You know what?
I'm contracted. I gotta be in Japan on Friday. I cannot afford to miss my money.
Spray that Lysol again.
I won't.
spray that Lysol again. Now I got all kind of Lysol particles in my throat.
So you got coronavirus.
You know what?
Coronavirus.
I cannot. Somebody said it's hard out here for a pimp. You ain't playing. You are not playing. So okay, Clark. It sounds like you sick, man. You getting chills. Means something is happening.
Yeah, I go see my doctor at 2:00.
Okay, well I hope you feeling better. Yeah, because
hey man, drink some Lysol.
He just did. So did I.
Well, tell me how you feel.
Look, it's probably landed all on the top of my cup.
Hey, it wasn't even spraying.
Dude,
it was going this way.
You sprayed it towards the AC, which blew it back this way.
But the AC ain't blowing that hard.
You know what? Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me before I go to jail up in here. Stop talking to me.
The threats.
We're going to end this segment of talking to y'all in the morning. And really just you. We're going to end the segment of talking to you.
What did I do?
There's no need to include you in the morning banter. We're going to end this today. It's sick of y'all. We're going to end this today. All right.
Whoa.
Let me move on.
My stomach hurts.
First of all, had to wear the baseball cap. In honor.
Hold on.
In honor.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to tell you what I wanted you to do is to find an instrumental to Let Them Know by T.I. That's what we needed this morning.
On them board.
Because when I say it didn't make no sense how the Brewers handled the Seattle Mariners.
22.
Come on now.
Even that one guy his first home run.
Yeah.
Even he got a home run.
Yeah, look. And some of the Mariners players was looking like, damn. They was kind of almost laughing, like, yeah, this is a clown show.
Right.
The one brother that played for the Mariners, he was like, hey, man, it wasn't our day today. It wasn't our day today. So we turned on the news. Me and Keisha both sitting at the kitchen table, laptops up, everybody working, doing everything. And then I said, I want to catch the news. So I turned on the news. I ain't even thinking about the game because, we done dealt with the imminent threat of danger, the tornado, cell phone warnings. Our alarms in the house was going off, because on your home security system, it gives you the alarm for the tornadoes and, weather alerts. So our house sounded like, like the fire station. Ding, 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 just everywhere. So I said, well, let me turn on the news and see what's happening. So I turned it on, but I didn't look at it. I just went to like TMJ4 or somewhere. I just went to the news and just turned it on. Keisha looked over there, and Keisha can't see. Keisha looked at the TV. She said, and she bent down low and was squinting. She said, does that say 22-0? I was like, what you talking about? She's like, the score in the game. I was like, girl, come on now. It don't say 22-0. Man, I looked over there. I had to go online because I just refused to believe what my eyes were saying. And it was like, no, ma'am, it was 22-0. Oh, my God. Hadn't been done since. When I tell you that game was rough. And I said, like, y'all don't have no rules about when to just chill. Like, after 12, y'all couldn't have just chilled. But like they got 5 runs in 2 innings back to back, and then 1 inning they caught 9 runs.
Michelle,
dude,
was a player.
What kind of mess was that?
What kind of pitch was that?
If I was a player on Seattle Mariners, I would have ran out on the field and yelled at the umps. Stop this man.
I was like, how they throw that towel in? Somebody should have threw towels on the field. Like, it was rough. Yeah.
Throw in a towel.
It was rough. In that fight with the sister, Clarice Shields.
That was a good fight.
They was like, throw the towel in on that fight. Because when the ref let that girl come back, they was you were supposed to call this fight. Yeah. And then they threw the towel in.
About 3 times.
Yeah, like, man, throw that and she dropped like 30 pounds for that match, man. But I'm like, yeah, somebody was supposed to throw some towels in. But to their credit, and then Seattle got to come back tonight. It's a 3 game series. So they got to come back, man.
Now, I think must have had whoever pitched that game must have been like the manager or like the water boy or something.
Yeah.
Give up 22 runs.
But Yelich hitting it, doing it for that 3-run homer. Boy, I had to go back and look at it all. I was like, ooh, this was nasty.
But Christian Yelich, though, he was in a slump a couple games.
I think he's the oldest player on the team now, too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, how you in a slump and it's your nightmare? Yeah, it was a shutout for yo. Woo. So I gotta go buy me some new Brewer hats.
Play them again,
tonight. Yeah, they got them tonight and tomorrow.
So we needed that game though because the Cubs is catching us.
They play in Atlanta after that, so it's like you won't be doing that down in Atlanta.
Not at all.
you won't be doing that with the Braves. So I thought about you. I got 2 Brewers hats. But I thought about Jermaine. I said, dang, Jermaine got some cold Brewers hats. Yeah. So I said, I got to go get me some new gear. Yeah. So now you have inspired me to go find me some Brewers caps. All right. Let me also say that, and somebody posted in the chat, I appreciate the way y'all stay on top of, just looking out, thinking about Black folks' interests. Nolan Wells, the young brother who came up missing and ultimately was found dead after a weekend, 4th of July weekend of hanging out with friends. And now people trying to get to the bottom of what happened to him. Today is his birthday. He would have been 19 today. And so I think about his parents. One of the things that's crazy. Somebody said, I'll get to that in a minute. Hold on.
Yeah,
let me stay focused.
Yes,
I'm gonna come back.
Please.
I'm gonna circle back, but I'm gonna stay focused on Nolan Wells for a second because I saw what they said. But the thing about this whole situation with Nolan Wells is that racists just don't know how to just go somewhere and sit down. There was an attempt. His mom is a nurse, is an RN, and there was an attempt to try, and I think she's actually like a nurse practitioner, so that's like the highest level you can go, or something like that. But there was an attempt by someone to get her license taken.
Really?
In the midst of everything this woman is going through with her family, grieving the death of her child, an anonymous complaint led to a professional misconduct review by the Mississippi Board of Nursing. It was closed, fairly shortly after it was opened, after drawing public backlash and widespread support for her. So it was just crazy that Mississippi would even fall into that and act like they was going to legitimately pursue going after this woman from an anonymous complaint. So let me just be clear, because some hateful racist white folks that did that. I just believe that in the midst of everything going on with her child, you got to have your employment license investigated because of an anonymous complaint. So thank you for the person who put it in the chat. I did realize that it was the baby's birthday, and somebody also had put Carmelo Anthony's name in there, young brother who, defending himself, and they have given this boy a conviction, and so you got folks fighting for him as well. So thank you for referencing those young people. I appreciate that. All right, so somebody said stop bragging on the Brewers, they trash. So I'm gonna just say this. Because, and I don't know who else I get into this argument with, but number one, the use of the phrase "they trash," I hate that phrase. And people say it all the time, and I know it's said in jest. Sometimes it's people serious because some people really play badly, but you don't get to that level in professional sports because you trash. And particularly when you play in a team sport, all kind of things got to be in place for things to go well. Now, what I'm talking about is one game. So if I wanted to congratulate them, give big props, because they made history last night, whether you think they're a good team or not, they made history last night. So you can't take that from people. And this is the thing. Be able to be balanced. I talk about people and issues and things all the time. But when it's time to give a nod and say, you know what, but by the way, I do need to compliment X, Y, and Z, you got to do that, man or woman. Be able to be balanced. Like, they don't normally play good. But last night they was a fool. They showed out. Or Seattle really sucked. I don't know. But I really I hear people do that all the time. They trash. I think I get into it with my brother about that. They trash. And I'll be like, and you play where, Negro? Who paying you some money to play? You make how much money playing basketball? No, none? Oh, okay. I just want to check. What high school team did you play on? Wait, none? All of that just irks me because I'm like, come on, y'all. This ways to talk about people not being good. They trash. It's just a minor, pet peeve of mine. Go on, Jay. Say something.
And whoever said,
because I know you love that word.
Yeah.
I know you
don't take my word. Trash is my word. You understand me? And whoever said that, the Brewers are in first place. Say it again.
And they beat the Dodgers a week ago.
And they beat the Dodgers, swept the Dodgers in the series.
And people are definitely hitting it in. They're saying, make sure, sis, the Brewers are top of the division right now. Just saying.
First
you know.
place.
So I'm just like,
So you can't be trash on top.
yeah, I'm just saying, man. You know, they have had seasons where it looked like they was gonna pull it out. We was gonna get this World Series championship, and then stuff happened. But they not trash. They not a trash team. They not.
That,
they not.
That's my word. I ain't give you permission to use it.
They not. That's Carolyn out here tearing up stuff. Don't know how to come into work. Get upset with somebody. Didn't have no pancakes this morning. Haven't we had to say something before about Carolyn tearing up out there? I don't understand. And she yelling and screaming. What is going on? I feel unsafe. Can you shut the door? I don't look, shut the door. You did not shut the door on it. I don't feel safe. I don't still feel safe. All right, so look, I gotta take a quick break. Callers, y'all will be first up when I come back. And who is this? Wait a minute. Oh, they want to. Okay, well, okay. If the Mariners is a bad team, they're a bad team.
Brewers are still good though.
They're 59 and 67.
The Brewers are still good.
It doesn't change the fact.
Thank you.
It was 0-22. Let me go to break. I'll be right back.
When we wanted to expand access for folks in need of bikes, we turned to Veolia. The result, the new Veolia EcoPass program that has dramatically increased access to our bike share system for folks all throughout our community, connecting students to schools, people looking for work with employers, the community with parks. Thanks to our partnership with Veolia, Bubbler Bikes is serving more people than ever before. Those are Milwaukee values.
I'm Jim Plaisted. I'm the Executive Director of the Historic Third Ward Association and also a resident of the Historic Third Ward. Somebody's got to manage this, right, and care for our waterways and care for the treatment of our waterways. We couldn't do it without MMSD and Veolia. They've just been a great partner as long as I've known them. It's just been an amazing recovery for this body of water. MMSD and Veolia have been a big part of getting that clean and enjoyable for all of us.
We have been in business here for 14 years. I believe the rivers are the cleanest they've ever been. We get lots of people on our rivers in canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. People are happy to be here, and it's growing every year. We love our partnership with Veolia. They help the kayak company grow. I definitely don't think we would be here without Veolia and MMSD. Clean water is essential.
The work we're doing at Veolia is absolutely bringing access to the water for people. To be able to have this job to help keep our rivers clean and our lake clean is the greatest thing I could ask to be doing with my time. It feels good. You're accomplishing something that is truly helping everybody in the community I was born and raised in. Water is our greatest resource. We all need it to survive. Veolia is 100% doing great work.
WNOV.
All right, family, welcome back to the show this morning. A couple of quick things. Let me just take 1 second. We had a caller yesterday who called to the station, and the caller was frustrated. I think that they said that there seemed to be a lot of breaks on my show, and the young lady who answered the phone attempted to explain, that those are commercials that are running. People have paid for that time. And I just want to just do a disclaimer, particularly as we are going into the November election. So I don't take breaks on my show just to take breaks. If I'm taking a break on the show, it's because there are either commercials that are supposed to be playing during that break time, which people have paid for, which in turn help to pay my salary and everybody else's salary here for us to even be able to have a radio station, or I need to come off the air to take care of something that's going on in the studio. I may have a guest that came early, or there was a situation that I wasn't aware of. So I just want people to understand and know that going into November, there will more than likely be even more breaks. My breaks are usually I have 3 per hour. I'm only on for 2. And some of those breaks can be long because of the number of commercials that are being run. I'm going to say this, while frustrating, be happy that folks are buying ads with us. Be happy that we got that as a problem, because that means that we're generating revenue, which means that we'll be able to stay on the air, because we have times when the revenue was slow. And, you trying to make ends meet. So I just wanted to explain that for people that, get frustrated because we tuned in to hear Michelle and hear what she got to say, but it's so many breaks. That's because we paying bills, y'all. And particularly during election season, that helps us when there are no elections and when it's slower and people are not advertising, because those are the things that keep the lights on and the doors open and the mics running. So I just wanted to flag that because somebody talked to me about it after I had got off the air, and I understand the frustration, and I'm glad that people care enough about the content of the show and what's being said to say, hey, what's going on. But I just need you to hear from me that that's what's happening, is that people want to advertise during this time slot. We doing everything we can to make sure that these lights and stay on and these doors open. We have seen way too many Black radio stations go under, and many times they are going under because they don't have ad revenue. They cannot figure out financially how to make it make sense. So that's my little piece on that. All right. Let me go to the phone line. These people have been holding for a minute. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Only for a minute. Only for a minute.
You know what? You'll be all right.
Good morning, Miss Michelle.
Hey,
Bryant.
JT, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. How about you?
I'm good, sir.
And obviously, good morning to my other favorite people in the studio this morning. Good morning, gentlemen, and I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Jay Tizzle.
Good morning.
Mm-hmm. And Michelle, reason why I'm calling, it seems like every time we turn around, those Gestapo Nazi ICE agents they have everybody, well, I understand they have carte blanche from the monsters we have in the control of the White House right now. But I was just checking out this article from Amani Bayo. That's Amani. I think I'm pronouncing the first name correctly. Amani Bayo. The person writes for the Columbus Dispatch, USA Today Network, and they had an article indicating how the Haitian immigrants is subject to monitoring. I say, what the ICE agents are allowed to do in Cincinnati, Ohio, and other cities in Ohio, they have the Haitians to come to their offices, and they place monitoring, ankle monitorings on their legs.
Right.
They take their passports. I think they have them to download an app where they can be monitored through the studio phone. But I say, wait a minute now. They haven't committed any crime, but you're going to force them to wear ankle monitors. I mean, it seems like they testing what they can get away with, how they treat the Haitians, so they can do it to us a little later on. But it's just a shame how they're treating the Haitians. And I also read where the Haitians, they really, obviously they're humiliated, they're mad, they're pissed off to being treated like that. But it reminds me of that time, Michelle, when they was coming across the lake and those Haitians, and what was that? The border agents, they was on horses with whips trying to stop the black Haitians from coming across that river some time ago.
Right.
So yeah, this is it just seems like they have carte blanche to do what they want to, and it's just getting crazy, so crazy. So I hope we do come out in November and try to get back control of this country, because it's just getting ridiculous, making those people wear ankle monitors. I'm sorry. So I'm sure you heard about that, Michelle. So I just wanted to just mention that little piece, and thank you so much for taking my call, and everybody have a good day.
Thank you, JT, and I certainly appreciate you highlighting what is going on, primarily in Springfield, Ohio. Definitely saw this situation. It's a mixed bag, because when the courts came in and said that it was okay for the Trump administration to remove the protected status that Haitian individuals in this country had in terms of the temporary protected status, that meant that anywhere from 330 to 350,000 Haitians immediately became eligible for deportation. Immediately. And so, because they don't have the ability to deport that many people at that time, at the same time, you saw them go to a system of saying they are going to wear ankle monitors. They have limited the amount of miles that they can travel. I think it's like up to 75 miles. They can't, go beyond that. So they couldn't even go from here to Madison, because that's an 89-mile trip. You have to have permission to go further than 75 miles. And they did take their passports. Ultimately, at some point, the goal will be to remove all of these people. And they are in negotiations. They've actually been talking to some other African countries. And I'm trying to remember, I just read 2 days ago where one of the countries had agreed to take these immigrants. So we're going to see these mass deportations beginning. So this is what they did in the quest to be ever just ignorant and racist in the way they are handling and treating this particular population of people. What else can we do to degrade and dehumanize folks? But yes, it was in response to what the Supreme Court did, which was to allow that temporary protective status to be removed. And so now all of these Haitian people are vulnerable and potentially being set to be removed from the country. So, yep, I was aware of it. And, I saw the guy on the news story when he lifted up his pants and he showed the ankle monitor. And it just is disgusting. It makes you sick, because you realize there are so many people in this country that are in this country illegally, have overstayed visas, have stayed work permits, tourist permits that are not Black, not people of color, and they get treated very, very differently. But so yes, JT, thanks for flagging that. All right. So a couple of things. First of all, if we got any folks down at the city listening, I don't know if you all have gotten to it yet, but because of the storms last night, we know that there were downed trees, electrical lines in different pockets of the city and the broader, our municipalities, surrounding communities. Some people had talked about whether or not they thought they saw tornado activity as close as West Allis, but we know that, like I said, the phones were going crazy. Your alarms are going crazy. They even showed it at the Brewers game, trying to get people to safety because they were so worried about a tornado touching down in the area. So we've gotten a phone call that on Sherman and Fond du Lac Avenue, there is a downed tree that is making traffic through that way difficult. People can't pass. And so I'm not sure, but a number of folks have said they've reached out to the city. They've called them about what's going on. So, it just depends though on what else is happening around the city. While that may be bad in terms of that tree being in the area, and folks are saying they've been calling since yesterday, it just kind of depends on what else is going on around the city that we may or may not be aware of. So I just would flag that for people. But if you have reached out, cool. And I will also make a call from the station before I leave this morning just to check on the status or to see if they've gotten an opportunity to get to that tree. All right. I said real quick I was going to, and I know a lot of people were without power yesterday, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 folks. A lot of those folks have been turned back on, but even Carolyn, who is out in the office for us, she said her power didn't come back on until 4:30 this morning. It had been out since 7:30 in the evening yesterday. So we know that there are folks that have been functioning and getting around without power this morning. It looks like a lot of it is being either addressed or it has been taken care of. But again, a little bit of patience as people are trying to figure this whole thing out. You got workers working at breakneck speed to get people turned back on. So I would just encourage that. Somebody just said, let's just say the city has a lot to do in front of my house. Not only did the tree uproot, it took out 3.5 slabs of concrete with it, including all the grass on my curb. Whoa. Okay. Okay, there it is. So just wanted to flag that for folks. All right. So yesterday I talked about Milwaukee Public Schools and I talked about the need for an audit. And there were people that flagged for me that, Michelle, there have been some audits done. And hang on one second. What does it say? Okay, I'm gonna get to that. I see it. And that was on my list to talk about yesterday. And I'm glad you said that. Thank you for flagging that. But let me do this real quick. So I talked about Milwaukee Public Schools, this whole issue with them overpaying Aisha Carr or paying her after her tenure with the school board had ended. They claimed for 3 months. She says it was a 1 month payment and she paid it back, hand walked the check to central office to cover it, and that she alerted them that they were sending her payments, not the other way around. They didn't catch the error. She caught it. She said it happened in July. And so there's a discrepancy about whether or not they paid her 3 months after she left and if they ever received any payment for any of it versus her saying, no, you paid me once in July after I left. And I called you all, not once, but twice. And I brought in a check for the repayment of that money. So I'm waiting to hear when they finally have their day in court, because they have sued her for this $5,000 some dollars, what this is going to look like. But when I talked about the fact that there needed to be an audit, I had a couple of people send me copies of the audit. And I'm going to just say this. The audit is not good, but it gives summaries. It gives, like simple, like recommendations that are, bite-sized recommendations that you can, infer X, Y, and Z from. But I'm looking for the data that was used to create the audit, the raw data. So I would like to know how many times the Milwaukee Public School District has overpaid an employee, or that they're, has this happened 5 times? Has it happened 25 times? Because one of the things that the audit said on the business side of MPS is they talked about the outdated systems and that the departments work in silos and they don't communicate well together. So something is going on in this department, but the folks in the other department that need to know about it, that information isn't getting to them either at all or in a way that's timely enough for, the process to work seamlessly. So the audits were not good. Let's just be clear. They were not good. But it's still not telling me, as I brought up that particular issue about the overpayments, how often something like that is happening. Like, I would love to see the raw statistical data about some of the issues that are being flagged. So while I read the audit still didn't get at, for me, that more intensive in the weeds, minutia, detailed information that I would like to understand that's going on with the district. And I would love to be able to ask my school board director, hey, can you tell me how many times MPS has overpaid an employee and how much money that has cost us? And did we go after every employee who we overpaid and have all those dollars been recouped? Is there money still outstanding? What's the longest amount of time that somebody had an overpayment? Did we go to court to pursue money against everybody that we overpaid? Like, I want answers to that. And a school board member should be able to answer those questions, because those are the questions that they should be asking. So while I saw the audit, still not satisfied. Still not feeling it. Still not satisfied. So I'm just gonna say that. Let me do this too. Somebody said on social media yesterday, hey, if what went on at XYZ University had happened at an HBCU, all hell would be breaking loose. And they called Penn State University Snowfall University. They called it Snowfall University because when you talk about 14 people, including a parent of one of the students, is caught up in this drug trafficking scheme that extends across state lines from New York and Philly back to Pennsylvania. Back to where the school is located, that this is crazy. The amount of drugs they were moving, the kind of money that they found hid, the cash, the drugs in the safe. I mean, a whole operation. And they was like, if this had been an HBCU, they would be talking about trying to figure out how to close the HBCU because you're trafficking drugs. And they talked about Adderall, Ritalin. The kids were buying that to stay awake, to study for exams. Weed, obviously, and then cocaine. They had some everything. Like, it's a little grocery store. What you need, we can get it. What you need, we got it. And you looked at who was doing the running, and the amount of information that we're getting out while we got the big headlines. People are like, no, go into the weeds, talk about who their mom and daddy is, talk about their childhood, the same way you do black folks. When you get into our business, we need all their business in the streets too. We need all of their business in the streets too. So people couldn't help but, think about and talk about the difference in how these two conversations are being had. Let me go to the phone line. I want to circle back to MPS because I also meant to mention on the front page of the paper this morning that the feds are investigating MPS, and I'll tell you why. Let me go to the phone line though. Hey caller, what's happening?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew Ward.
Yes, sir.
I heard from my veteran brother, JT, and heard from him in too long. He was very professorial in this presentation. And you are a masterpiece at what you do. I was very happy to hear that you get paid. I was trying to subsidize you, but I found out you already getting paid. Another thing, too, you mentioned the school board and auditing. The old big issue with MPS has been for too long the finances. They were withholding money from the state, and we're not getting our accounts up to date. And very coincidentally, when the past superintendent retired, the accountant retired also. And whoever that was should be brought up and paid much more attention to. I don't know who the replacement is, but we need to make sure we have a good person handling the money. And I'm gonna close now, but y'all have a good one.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So I said I wanted to circle back on MPS, and this is why. Because I also noted this morning that there is a front page article in which the Department of Education, the feds, are coming in to quote unquote investigate MPS around issues of race in disciplinary decisions. So many years ago, it was found that MPS seemed to be having inequitable treatment in the way they handled student behavioral issues between students of color and white students. Okay. So yes, MPS has been a predominantly Black school district for a number of years. And so when you look at the suspension ratings, expulsion numbers, automatically it's going to be more Black kids suspended and expelled because more Black children go to the district. So their numbers are going to be, to some degree, disproportionately higher. But when a deeper dive was taken and they looked at the treatment of students of different races, but who had committed the exact same offense, the exact same school record, the exact same circumstances, that the Black child tended to be treated harsher than the white student. So there had been, through the Office of Civil Rights, a while ago, policies that said we needed to look at, how these kids are being suspended, what these suspensions look like, and look at it through the lens of race. We want to understand if Black children are being treated more punitively than their white counterparts. So now with the racist administration that we have and all the Black Republicans who love these people, they're going back and saying, no, you can't take a look at race. You can't talk about if kids are being disproportionately impacted because they're Black. All we care about is that everybody is treated the same. But we already know, because people can bring their own bias into what they do, that these kids can be treated differently. I got to go to break, but it reminds me of when I was substitute teaching and I had a young child in that I had these kids for almost a whole semester because their teacher came to school one day and realized he couldn't cut it and didn't come back. And so the kids had like 13 subs before I became their sub, and I took them through the end of through December, through the end of December, from when school started. And we got this new teacher, young white female teacher who had come into the classroom, and I was transitioning out of the classroom, and there was and this was, I think, first or second grade. I always forget which grade it was, but it was either first or second grade. And this white female teacher talked about one of the kids that I had worked with for 3 months or so, and talked about that this kid was so aggressive and so that she was afraid of this baby. And they wanted that child expelled. But she made it sound like this boy was 14 years old, 6 foot tall, 220 pounds, and she was just terrified of him. He was a baby. He was 6 years. It was first grade. He was 6 years old. But the way she talked about him and made him sound like he was menacing, so she was not being fair in the way she engaged this boy and the discipline that they wanted for him because she was afraid of him. But you could see it coming. So I got to go to break. But there is validity when you can have a district, and I'm not saying that these are the numbers for MPS. I need to pull them. I haven't done it in a while. But if you got 65% white teachers, 50% Black student body, and you notice disparities in between how white kids, or in MPS only got like 9 8% white kids, 9% Asian, 28% Hispanic. I believe those was the last numbers I saw. But you notice a difference. And I'll say this, going to the break. I just saw a segment literally last night before I read this article. The comedian Tommy Davidson, who used to be on In Living Color. Y'all think about it. Y'all know who Tommy Davidson is. Tommy Davidson must have been adopted by a white family and was raised with a white family. And he talked about him and his sister, a white female, going to school and both being late for the same reason. Their mother dropped them off. They were late. His white sister was sent to class. He was given detention. And his white adoptive mother came up to the school and was like, so wait a minute. How is it that my white daughter was just sent to class, but my black son was sent to detention? And so Tommy Davidson talked about this white adoptive mother taking him away from school, taking him to the park, and sitting down and talking to him about the fact that you are going to be treated differently in life. And I need you to understand what's happening, why it's happening, and how you deal with that. I just saw that. It was on Club Shay Shay. He was on Shannon Sharp's show, and I just saw that interview. And then here's this story today where you got this racist administration who wants to come back in and tell people, I don't ever want you to consider race as a reason for why something is happening in a school. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to ignore it. We're going to ignore history. Move on. Nothing to see here. I got to take a break. I'll be right back.
When we wanted to expand access for folks in need of bikes, we turned to Veolia. The result, the new Veolia EcoPass program that has dramatically increased access to our bike share system for folks all throughout our community, connecting students to schools, people looking for work with employers, the community with parks. Thanks to our partnership with Veolia, Bubbler Bikes is serving more people than ever before. Those are Milwaukee values.
I'm Jim Plaisted. I'm the executive director of the Historic Third Ward Association and also a resident of the Historic Third Ward. Somebody's got to manage this, right, and care for our waterways and care for the treatment of our waterways. We couldn't do it without MMSD and Veolia. They've just been a great partner as long as I've known them. It's just been an amazing recovery for this body of water. MMSD and Veolia have been a big part of getting that clean and enjoyable for all of us.
We have been in business here for 14 years. I believe the rivers are the cleanest they've ever been. We get lots of people on our rivers in canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards. People are happy to be here, and it's growing every year. We love our partnership with Veolia. They help the kayak company grow. I definitely don't think we would be here without Veolia and MMSD. Clean water is essential.
The work we're doing at Veolia is absolutely bringing access to the water for people. To be able to have this job to help keep our rivers clean and our lake clean is the greatest thing I could ask to be doing with my time. It feels good. You're accomplishing something that is truly helping everybody in the community I was born and raised in. Water is our greatest resource. We all need it to survive. Veolia is 100% doing great work.
All right, family, welcome back to the show. So let me just finish that piece out. And I also got word that, yep, the tree is still down over off of Sherman and Fond du Lac. So again, hopefully they will be able to get to it soon. But if we are seeing the amount of damage that it looks like it happened, some neighborhoods just fortunate, it did not happen to you. Jermaine just looked up a tree, nearly missing a car. I mean, I saw huge trees from the root laying down on the side. And we are somebody, in one of the last storms, we had a tree come down in our yard. And but it was on private property, didn't impede anybody. But man, that tree came up by the roots. I'm looking at the roots of this tree. Like, this is crazy. So just so you know that that's going on. Real quick, ending out that piece on MPS. And this investigation now that the feds are doing, they're also doing, they said they were going to be looking at another school in, I think, Fayetteville, Arkansas, because they, don't want to see the possibility that there will be anybody thinking about the impact of race in the way people make decisions about discipline. We've already seen all the studies. Black children can be crying and people will be less empathetic to them. They treat Black children like grown-ups instead of babies and little kids. I talked about the thing that Don Quixote did on one of the TV shows, his little What Would You Do segments. And he showed a little white girl standing there crying by herself in the mall, and all these people. No, I don't even think she was crying. She was just standing there by herself in the mall, and all these people of every racial background, Black, white. Are you okay, sweetheart? Is everything okay? They had a little Black girl, same age, same build, same height, same situation. Didn't nobody come check on that Black girl? Not even Black folks. Barely even Black folks came to check on that baby. But the little white girl, everybody came to check for her. What we see when we talk about, whose story gets told on a missing person. White women, you missing, call Jesus, because everybody got to come. And you got Black folks at work, girl, that's a shame. What happened to that little white girl? And da-da-da-da-da. Black women missing, you don't know nothing about it. They had to create a whole task force, been trying to create one in Madison for years about missing Black women and girls. Because we don't get the media coverage, because we're not in the newsrooms. We're not the one driving the decisions about which stories get told. And so for people to act like, and I want y'all to know, former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, his organization, what was it called? Something Young American, some crap. He was one of the organizations that was behind what they call this campus bias tip line. And people could call in and say if they felt like white people in some way was being discriminated against. Scott Walker started that mess. Scott Walker led that organization and started that. And then I think his son may have come in and taken it over, had something to do with it. I don't remember that part explicitly. But these is people we looking at every day. This is what we are looking at every day. And people want you to act like you don't see what you're seeing. I refuse to believe that if George Floyd had been a white man, that Derek Chauvin would have sat there, almost cussed, whistling Dixie while he had his knee in that man's neck and that man was begging for his life and begging for his mother. I refuse to believe he would have sat there with his knee in a white man's neck like that. But Black people are dehumanized and seen as nothing, that our lives don't matter. And people are not honest about the way that they use color or they use race to make decisions on how you are viewed, treated, talked to, punished, advanced, dealt with. That's why I was so outraged with this mess with the Office of Safety and Wellness, that a white murderer could be given a six-figure job over Black people who ain't never committed a crime, advanced education and degrees, advanced experience. Your claim to fame was you killed some damn body and sat in jail forever and then got some education while you was in jail, and you come out and can get a 6-figure job before black people who are qualified, ain't never committed a crime, and with advanced education and experience. But in this case, your experience as a murderer was more important. And you had black folks jumping up and down trying to justify that. When Leonard Wells was a part of the group that looked at a study that had been done before that talked about a white man with less education and a criminal record could get a job before a black man with no criminal record and better education. And they had the data and the statistics to back them up. So when you got somebody like what they're doing now and flipping the Office of Civil Rights on their head to like talk about white grievance and, oh, are white people being discriminated against? Do you know what kind of head start white folks done had on discriminating against black folks in this country? And now you want to pop up in 2020 and act like, oh, yeah, none of that happened. There's no remnants of slavery left. But you got white boys walking around with khaki shorts and tiki torches talking about we won't be replaced. The rise of the Klan, the rise of hate groups, the Proud Boys is through the roof. And you trying to act like race is not a factor anymore? Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum to you. I'm Ms. Bryant. Thank you for taking my call. I was trying to put my shoe on. Right. So I could stand up properly. I'm listening. I was listening to you, Ben, and you right on the money about all of this with regard to MPS. And I'm thinking, like, as far as I can remember in the 90s, when we were in high school, and especially I gotta say my school, it was Vincent, when they started bringing the cops into the schools, they were giving us disorderly conduct tickets, and people would get into fights. They would get like assault and battery tickets. These are, we were children fighting each other for whatever reason. Some stuff came from the streets and it carried over into the school. The girls was fighting each other over for whatever reason. People were fighting. And then, so what it did and what it, as for me, what it established as concrete evidence, the reality of the high school or the prison pipeline from school to the penitentiary for the most part, because then when I was there, they started putting up these giant gates that they have built into the school in Vincent, and they were treating us like we were incarcerated, and nothing has changed. And it goes even further back than that with regard to segregation and all of those other stuff where black people were trying to integrate and all of the things that they had to experience, which was more brutal with regard to the physicality of it. So nothing has changed. And I'll go with this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the mask, M-A-S-K, the mask of civility will come off, and that the layers of the onion will be peeled back, and the brutality of the Caucasian will become, will be front and center for the most part. And then I was listening to another person, a brother. He was saying how the current occupant of the pharaoh, who's in charge currently, has brought what we thought no longer existed right back into our faces, so that we probably could be shocked back into reality that, as they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We are of the despised and the rejected, yet we are the inheritors of the hereafter if we accept our own and become ourselves or be ourselves. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. And
Yes,
I've heard this sentiment expressed before, and thank you for bringing that up on the show today.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. Look, y'all, what's happening out here is real. And you don't get to act like it's not being framed in reference to race. You know, when Christopher talked about the school to prison pipeline, and they were making determinations on prison beds off third grade reading and testing scores, that the worse your educational outcomes were, the more likely you were to end up incarcerated. But if we got other systems in place that are penalizing children differently based on race, then we're putting you into the pipeline. We're helping you. You know, I remember talking years and years ago about a 6-year-old running around on a school campus. I think it was over here off of 76. I think that school's called Browning or whatever that school's called. And kids were stuffing leaves in each other's pockets. And a little black boy stuffed leaves in the pocket of a little white girl. And a teacher saw it, told the principal called the police. The police came and got that 6-year-old little boy. And I think the story said that the baby might have been handcuffed, and took him and sat him down into a police room or something at the district station. The mother, who had a neighbor who would get her son when he would get home from school, the neighbor called because the neighbor was like, did your son not go to school today? We haven't seen him. The mother starts calling all around like, where's my baby? Calls the principal, is able to track the principal down. The principal said, oh, we had an incident at school. The police got called and your 6-year-old kid is at the police station, and nobody had called the mother. We get treated differently. End of story. We do. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I definitely agree with you. We get treated different. Especially when we must be exactly like the Davis guy said. Never be late, at least try not to be when in our right and sober mind. Okay. The deal is just right here. You said that there was nobody as a white member would have had his knees George Floyd next. Now listen, George Floyd incident was a terrible incident. I think it was maliciously done. I think dude did that on purpose. He did it. It was a murder, because if I would have did it, they'd have charged me with manslaughter. Okay. But there was a white boy. There was a hunky that was killed in Texas the exact same way as George Floyd. Now I want you to understand something. Through George Floyd's movement, his family come back, and go watch the video. They were slapping Tony, talking about, wake up, Tony, after they put their knee in his neck for 14 minutes. Okay, if they ain't took the video should still be up. Listen, they did this Tony Tipper dude in Texas, put their knee on his neck. Now, through George Floyd, his family came back and got $1 million for the murder of that boy. And he called the police on himself. He got so high, he called us all on himself. And they came and jumped on him, and they did the same technique. And they were slapping, talking about, Tony, what did you have tonight? And slapping and whipping. You know, crackers just do mean things. I mean, they just do mean things when it comes down to the border control. A lot of them people that was whooping our Haitian friends, they was Hispanic. There was Mexicans working that border. It ain't many white boys and Negroes or white Hispanics working them borders. Guess what? And we got nerve enough to jump in line and fight for them and talk about keep them people, lead them people, color on them. People don't give a doggone about me or you or nobody else. And then when it comes down to the school board, we constantly want to allow these school boards to fleece us for our capital and for your well-being, your belongings that you worked probably 30, 40 years for. We better bag up and let the school board get their mind right. And until then, I'm not in support of them. And the prison to pipeline. Yes, they said the school board, the school sets it up. Okay, we good with that. But here's one that really is the prison to pipeline. That dirty, nasty foster care system that I fight so hard for to get abolished with them, the way they got it set up. That's your real prison to pipeline. Because once you get a kid in the system, Michelle, he starts to understand what county is, wraparound workers is, which is probation officers. Not really, but they begin to understand. Stand in line for count. Wake up. Are you here, Jarius? Where are you at? They begin to be institutionalized as babies. That's the real prisoner pipeline. That doggone foster care system. I don't care what people say. I don't care if there's some foster care mothers out there. Maybe you're a good one, but it's a whole bunch of bad ones, and you're programming a child. When they come out of St. Charles, this little baby, that little 6-year-old boy, they probably took him to St. Charles. Guess what? When you start hanging out in them places, the kids have been exposed to other things and other adventures. So you know what? We got a mad class going on here, and we think it's a great thing, foster care. No, and guess what? I hate to say this, but you're going to really get mad. If you go back and see when that foster care system went wild, it's been in effect for years, probably 100 years, but it went crazy and mad during the Bill Clinton deal. And you know what he did? He sold it to us people. No, he sold it to the black. First, the insurance, the CHIP program. It sounded like insurance. Yeah, it's insurance. Insurance that the child's well-being and safety is taken care of. But we thought it was health insurance, medical. We just, whoa, kid, go get some insurance. What we did, we painted ourselves into it. We put ourselves in a hungry lion's mouth, and you tell them how to get the babies back out, man. And with that, I'm going to get on.
All right, thank you so much. Got to take a break, but I do want to be clear. The CHIPS program, the Children's Health Insurance Program, we're talking about kids being able to get routine checkups, immunization, doctor's visits, prescriptions, dental, vision, emergency services. These were for uninsured children under the age of 19 who lived in households that basically were at the poverty level. So, you know, there's something good and bad in just about everything we can look at. But make no mistake, a lot of kids did get help by the CHIPS program. Let me take a break. I'll be right back.
When we wanted to expand access for folks in need of bikes, we turned to Veolia. The result, the new Veolia EcoPass program that has dramatically increased access to our bike share system for folks all throughout our community, connecting students to schools, people looking for work with employers, the community with parks. Thanks to our partnership with Veolia, Bubbler Bikes is serving more people than ever before. Those are Milwaukee values.
I'm Jim Plaisted. I'm the Executive Director of the Historic Third Ward Association and also a resident of the Historic Third Ward. Somebody's got to manage this, right, and care for our waterways and care for the treatment of our waterways. We couldn't do it without MMSD and Veolia. They've just been a great partner as long as I've known them. It's just been an amazing recovery for this body of water. MMSD and Veolia have been a big part of getting that clean and enjoyable for all of us.
We have been in business here for 14 years. I believe the rivers are the cleanest they've ever been. We get lots of people on our rivers in canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. People are happy to be here, and it's growing every year. We love our partnership with Veolia. They help the kayak company grow. I definitely don't think we would be here without Veolia and MMSD. Clean water is essential.
The work we're doing at Veolia is absolutely bringing access to the water for people. To be able to have this job to help keep our rivers clean and our lake clean is the greatest thing I could ask to be doing for my time. It feels good. You're accomplishing something that is truly helping everybody in the community I was born and raised in. Water is our greatest resource. We all need it to survive. Veolia is 100% doing great work.
All right, family, a couple of other things I want to try to work in this morning. Number one, I don't know how many people heard about the story because it's been going on for years. I don't think I've ever talked about it on my show, though. There was a person at Harvard University whose name is Cedric Lodge. And Cedric Lodge is a brother. At least from all the videos, the pictures, he looked like he a black man. And he managed the morgue at Harvard University. Harvard University, not unlike a lot of universities around the country, they have a cadaver program in which human bodies are donated to science by families for study to help, mankind. When I went to UWM, I remembered coming to class and, they wheeled in the little long metal case, and they removed the top, and then somebody started cranking the side handle, and then up out of the formaldehyde, whatever mixture it was this elderly old woman. And we were able to pick up lungs and her heart and everything as a part of this biology class that we had. So literally, I've been in a classroom at UW Milwaukee in which a cadaver was used in the class. Was that at Milwaukee or Wichita State? I can't remember. I think it was at Milwaukee. But anyway, so this is not uncommon. But what is uncommon is that this morgue manager decides that he is going to be a part of selling body parts to collectors. So he and his wife, Denise, you heard what I said. He and his wife, Denise, was selling body parts to, quote, collectors, not to other medical research. I don't know what you doing with the collections, but they said to collectors. So this goes back to 2022, at least, when I remember people first started talking about this story and what was happening. So he got fired in 2023. He got sentenced to 8 years in prison for trafficking in stolen remains. Whoa. And so families are donating their family members' bodies for scientific research, and then they are taking body parts, and they said they had been doing it since 2018 that they could track back. So now a settlement, and this is why it's back in the news, is because Harvard has reached a settlement agreement to pay $53 million to the families that were impacted by what these people did. But I'm sorry. I was like, this a brother?
Wow.
Because you hear some stuff and you be like, no, that ain't us. It looks like this was us. Disgusting. But they were selling human remains for a profit. Yes, Jermaine.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you selling body parts on the black market.
It was on the internet.
Collectors.
It was on the internet. You didn't have to go. It was on Instagram.
Well, he was selling on Instagram.
There was this store called Cat's Creepy Creations, and the store was in Salem, Massachusetts. And on their Instagram page, it said that they, quote, specialized in creepy dolls, oddities, and bone art. If you're in the market for human bones, hit me up.
Okay.
That was on this woman's Instagram page.
Okay, well, here is the first problem. For those of you that have watched movies, scary movies in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, most of the killing that have taken place in Salem. So
True.
So
True.
Anybody that's offering anything in Salem, you should run. Is demonic. But to actually have a store that you looking for parts, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna put it on a mannequin? Are you
I'm telling you, they said collectors.
But why are you So you just gonna have a room full of arms?
I mean, just whatever. Come on now. People got sick stuff.
I get it.
Fetishes.
What
ignorance.
the hell you gonna do?
What they used to do to black people's bodies. They kept black people body parts.
Yeah, but that was for like trophy stuff.
But no, like the lady that they used to call the Hottentot Venus, who had the big posterior, and white folks so enamored because you ain't never seen a big butt and a smile, and they wanted to put it in a glass and display her behind.
That's because they couldn't.
No, I'm just telling you. Wow. So there are all kinds of creepy, crazy people.
Wow.
And I just wanted to flag that because I thought it was crazy.
Wow. Wowzers.
The other thing I will say, I gotta take a break.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I gotta take a break.
Wow.
But when I come back, I have to hit on something. It just irks my soul because I talked about it when Debbie Wasserman Schultz, member of Congress, who was drawn out of her district, made the decision to hop over in a black district to run for a congressional seat in that district. This is the same district that Uncle Luke was running in, and it was a total of 4 black people running for this seat. It is the only black leaning district. It's like the 4th congressional district here in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin. It's the only predominantly black leaning district in which you got a chance of sending a black member to Congress. Broward County, and I forgot what the other county is down in Florida. These black folks could not get on the same page. They split up the vote, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who does not live in that district, who carpetbagged and moved into that district so she could go after a seat that she had traditionally been, set up so that black folks could have representation on the Hill. She just won that primary last night. And I'll talk about when I come back. Be right back.
When we wanted to expand access for folks in need of bikes, we turned to Veolia. The result, the new Veolia EcoPass program that has dramatically increased access to our bike share system for folks all throughout our community, connecting students to schools, people looking for work with employers, the community with parks. Thanks to our partnership with Veolia, Bubbler Bikes is serving more people than ever before. Those are Milwaukee values.
I'm Jim Plaisted. I'm the executive director of the Historic Third Ward Association and also a resident of the Historic Third Ward. Somebody's got to manage this, right, and care for our waterways and care for the treatment of our waterways. We couldn't do it without MMSD and Veolia. They've just been a great partner as long as I've known them. It's just been an amazing recovery for this body of water. MMSD and Veolia have been a big part of getting that clean and enjoyable for all of us.
We have been in business here for 14 years. I believe the rivers are the cleanest they've ever been. We get lots of people on our rivers in canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards. People are happy to be here, and it's growing every year. We love our partnership with Veolia. They help the kayak company grow. I definitely don't think we would be here without Veolia and MMSD. Clean water is essential.
The work we're doing at Veolia is absolutely bringing access to the water for people. To be able to have this job to help keep our rivers clean and our lake clean is the greatest thing I could ask to be doing with my time. It feels good. You're accomplishing something that is truly helping everybody in the community I was born and raised in. Water is our greatest resource. We all need it to survive. Veolia is 100% doing great work.
NOV.
All right, family, welcome back to the show. Before I tackle the 20th district down in Congressional District down in Florida, somebody reminded me, I've talked about this before on the show, but somebody reminded me of the story of a black man by the name of Eugene. Back in 1929, this body was found in a ditch near a rural road in Sabina, Ohio. And they could not figure out who this man was. And so his body went unclaimed. So someone who worked at the funeral home had the idea to dress up this black man's body in his suit. They had embalmed him and everything. And they put him in a picture window in this little building that's set off from the mortuary. This man's body sat in that window for 30 years. 1964. Is when it finally was removed. But over the course of that time, college students would steal the body and have it at Ohio State University at Halloween parties. People would steal the body and put it in people's houses. They'd always, return it, give it back. But for 30 years, this black man's body sat in this little window unclaimed. They had a book, and they had estimated that where people could sign in to come by and see Eugene's body. 1.2 or 1.5 million people are estimated to have come through this town to just see this corpse of this black man. So when people talk about what folks will do, you thought it was funny to steal this corpse of this unidentified man and have him sitting at your Halloween party on your campus. So that was just a side note. But let me hit up the 20th Congressional District down in Florida. So I talked about this a lot when it was first happening, that because of redistricting and the effort to try to get rid of Democrats in office and to get rid of black representation, specifically in office, Republicans around the country were drawing district lines that either pitted black legislators against one another, like they did in Texas, or they stretched a predominantly black district halfway across the state or to the other end of the state, like they did in Tennessee. And down in Florida, going after Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's a Democrat, they redistricted her area and drew her out of her district. So she would have either had to run against a fellow Democrat who's already serving in Congress, so one of her colleagues, or she would have had to run against a Republican. Well, Debbie Wasserman Schultz didn't want to run against one of her own colleagues. Okay. She didn't want to do that. She didn't want to run against a Republican. So she didn't have a problem hopping over into a black district and running against the black folks who wanted to run to represent this predominantly and the only predominantly black district in the state of Florida. So just think about this. Because this Gwen them colleague in DC, and I really want to know how black congressional members look at her and be cool with her. That you get drawn out of your district, and instead of running against one of your colleagues in another Democratic district or running against a Republican, you come over into the predominantly black district and run against the black folks in that district, and you say, hey, I've got 20 years of experience plus, so I'm going to be able to better represent you than any of these black people that's running. Now, on some hand, she was right, because there were 4 black folks running in that race. Former Broward Mayor Dale Holness, activist Elijah Manley, former Congresswoman Sheila Shurfless McCormick, who under investigation, and Uncle Luke Campbell. Luke should have got his butt out the race. 9,000 votes is what he got. The Congresswoman, you under investigation. It's a scandal. Probably should have got your butt out the race. The mayor, the activist, Elijah Manley, there was supposed to be a pact made amongst these 4 black folks that 3 of them would get out of the race and 1 person would move forward to try to coalesce black voters around that candidate. Because Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who goes on to win the 20th Congressional District because these black folks couldn't get it together and get on the same page and decide which one of them would be the candidate, she only got like 40-some% of the vote. The majority of the vote went to all 4 of the black candidates. So that seat likely would have remained in black representation had the 4 black people not been tripping, not been arrogant, not been on ego, not been on whatever they was on, and said, all right, y'all, who do we think got the strongest chance of the 4 of us? We gonna bow out, encourage our people to support them so that this district can remain in a district in which black folks are representing this district. Too much like right. Too much like right, too much like right, too much like right. But for me, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is not off the hook either, because this is the thing that frustrates me. How white Democrats can be your friend until they need what you got. Not in all cases, but in some cases. It is amazing to me how it's more important for you to be returned to office than it is for this segment of the population to have a representative that looks like them, that may understand their challenges and situation a little bit better than you do as the white Democrat, but you jump over in a seat. And you got black folks that co-sign for it. Just like black folks co-sign for Fred Kessler remaining the representative in a district that was created for black representation. I ain't gonna never let it go. You gonna get sick of me talking about it. I ain't gonna never let it go. Even though Fred Kessler is no longer with us, God rest his soul, I ain't gonna never let it go. I ain't gonna never let it go. Because the seat was created because they looked around in the state capitol and said, damn, it ain't no black folks up in here. But we got majority leaning black districts. So we could do what's right and fair and create these district lines so that black folks can have representation, since they make up such a huge number of the population in this area. And that's what the seat was created for. And when Fred Kessler gets drawn out of his seat on the east side of Milwaukee, him and his wife, they move over to the north side, northwest side, so they can run in that seat, because it was more important to keep Fred Kessler in the building than it was for black folks to have representation. And Democrats go along with that, and black Democrats go along with that. So when a little black girl shows up to say, hey, this is my district, it's a predominantly black district, I'm running for that seat, you had good old black Democrats who was like, I don't think so. And we've seen it in other situations. The district that Evan Goyke represented was a predominantly black district created for black representation. Sandy Pash, same thing. Same thing. And so here we are, because all likelihood says that Debbie Wasserman Schultz will win in the general election. So we lose representation. We lose a black person, black face in Congress. And considering we've already taken hits because of what was done in other states, or we will be taking hits, and everybody okay with it. But I damn sure wish I was a member of the Congressional Black Caucus when Debbie Wasserman Schultz come waltzing her butt back up in that room. I would love to be in that meeting. Because I'm sorry. I like you. I appreciate your work. I appreciate the grind and the hustle. I don't appreciate this. Don't appreciate it. As Congressional Black Caucus membership and their numbers continue to drop because of the systematic efforts by white Republicans to get rid of black representation, and then you got white Democrats helping them out. I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. I don't care who love Debbie. It was out of order. But more importantly, it couldn't have happened if black folks had been able to get their behind on the same page. We give up power every day. When we don't vote, when we don't show up, when we don't support candidates, we give up power every day. We put ourselves in positions every day to get messed over. And that's what happened down in Florida. Didn't have to go that way. It wasn't no 100% guarantee that a black person would have won, but the likelihood was great that that's exactly what would have happened. And so Congressional Black Caucus will lose another member. What they say? Sometimes it be your own people. In this case, your own black people who was silly and couldn't get it together, and your allies who know you getting ready to come in and you done had your turn. You've been in Congress for umpteen years. Let somebody else have a turn. But no, you the savior. You Jesus is, little sister. And they need you to come in and save the people. Nonsense to me. Nonsense. And yet we don't ever, as Black people, go in white districts and run in those districts and try to take them seats. That's the show for today. Callers, I know y'all was holding. I'm sorry, but I needed to work those 3 things in. Bros in the building, I appreciate you, Clark. Go to the doctor. Make sure you're feeling better. Family, I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.